This week, imams across the UK published a magazine called Hakika, which means the reality in Arabic. Its objective, compete with the Islamic State's digital propaganda and demystify the appeal of joining a terrorist organisation. IB Times UK met with Shaukat Wahaish, the magazine's editor-in-chief. He spoke of the difficulty of joining ISIS and how he hopes Hakika's second issue might deter young people from going to Syria or Iraq. As you mentioned, the magazine's senior editor, Dr. Kari Asim, said he was trying to reclaim, the digital sphere back from the terrorists. Is that the magazine's main goal? How do you get about by that?
And Daesh, the so-called Islamic State, has clearly an online strategy. They've got a cyber strategy to attract people from the West to Iraq or Syria to fight. And they're also saying that if you can't come because of police or the government's actions or legal actions, fight in this country, fight in the West, kill non-Muslims in the West. We know we've got a very tough task. ISIL is pumping out information every day. It's very sleek. It's very well organized. There's thousands of people retweeting it. How do we, as scholars in the West, develop an online strategy? And we've started with the magazine.
Yeah. If you flip through the pages, you can clearly see that the magazine is very slick, very well designed. It's quite beautiful to look at, even though some of the images are quite traumatic, like this one. It looks very similar to ISIS's own magazine. Is that on purpose?
It is indeed. We've seen that ISIL and other kind of affiliate terrorist organizations are using publications. They're producing them on a regular basis, and they are very, very sharp. They're well designed. Clearly, these people know media, they know publishing, and hence, if we want to compete with them and change people's minds, it's got to be on the same level. And that's our aim, that whatever we produce is authentic, it's high quality, and can attract young people. And from our first edition, where we had 77,000 downloads and nearly 1.5 million hits on the website, clearly there's an appetite for this information.
Yeah. And how do you bring this, whole social media content or, this platform content down to, one-on-one facing, if ever that, young person who is thinking about joining, an organization like ISIS, who does he turn to, in the real world?
That's a really good question. What we find is that young people currently are interrogating this information in their bedrooms. At colleges or on their phones in parks. It's done secretly. They may converse with their friends and say, look, I'm having these ideas, what do you think? Should we go together? So like the three sisters that went from Tower Hamlets in London, 3 young girls, 14, 15, 16, clearly there was a pact to go together. Did they have the opportunity to possibly question somebody who may have directed them in a different direction? We've got to take the conversation from the bedroom to the mosque or to a space where they feel safe. And that one-to-one connection is really important. Without that one-to-one connection, there's still room for misguidance.
Yeah, and also misguidance, as you say, sometimes it might be quite scary or young people don't necessarily want to go to authority figures that might represent, their family, the government. As you say, it's quite important to kind of stay away from that.
Yeah.
And show, we can give you answers.
And that's the dilemma.
Yeah.
That's the dilemma, that how can you create a safe space for young people to have these very difficult conversations? And especially if young people have already got a very fixed opinion about the world, how do you detangle those thinking, that thinking?
Because, for example, one of the articles in this issue, Message to My Sisters, clearly looks at demystifying or debunking the whole appeal of becoming a jihadi bride.
Yeah.
Is that from your point of view, is that one of the biggest issues? And how can you deal with? It must be quite taboo for girls to even mention that.
So we're being very frank with people that look, there are clearly cases of women from the UK or from Europe or from North America that have actually gone to fight with Daesh and have become jihadi brides. Some of those women have come back and said, look, when we went out there with this sincere intention to help, when we got there, the reality was totally different. We've been abused, or we were forced to marry people we didn't want to marry. We wanted to potentially do other jobs, but we weren't allowed to do that. And also the Islamic character of some of these people were not what I expected. But we're saying to the young people, especially girls, this is not the solution. The solution is not to go. Help the Syrian people from here, and there's lots of ways to do that.
Yeah.
If you think that by going it's an Islamic duty, we can clearly prove to you that this is not Islam.
Yeah.